With hits like Norwegian Wood by the Beatles and 8 Miles High by the Byrds, it might seem like Raga Rock, the East meets West subgenre combining rock music with Indian influences, is a simple genre to put together. But before these songs hit the airwaves, the Yardbirds were in the studio struggling to make sitars sound cool. In 1965, renowned racist and COVID denier Eric Clapton left the Yardbirds. The band was moving towards playing the more experimental pop music of the era, while Clapton just wanted to play the blues. Perhaps the harpsichord that featured prominently on their previous hit, For Your Love, was the last straw for the future blues breaker. Guitarist and generally cool dude Jeff Beck was brought in to take Clapton's place. The band set out to work on a new single that would feature a sitar as a sort of spiritual successor to the harpsichord on For Your Love. A professional sitar player and tabla player were brought in for the first session, but the band was dissatisfied with the resulting sound. It was fine in principle, but while the tablas sounded okay, the sitar just wasn't up front enough. It just didn't cut through, said drummer Jim McCarty. Beck stepped in to replace the sitar, writing a new riff and putting it through a fuzz box, making the Yardbirds' new single one of the earliest popular songs to use this style of effect. Quote, the sitar player couldn't get the 4/4 time signature right. It was a hopeless waste of time. So I said, look, is this the figure? I had the fuzz machine, a tone blender, going. We did one take, it sounded outrageous, so they kept the tabla player who could just about make it work. They rushed that out, and the rest was a roller coaster ride, said Beck. Beck's contributions on the track are notable for helping to usher in the raga rock and psychedelic rock subgenres. Combined with Keith Relf's vocals, Graham Goldman's songwriting, and the pop powerhouse skills of the Yardbirds as a whole, the song became one of the band's biggest hits. Last week on Cover Me, we discovered that the Byrds invented psychedelic rock with the release of their hit song 8 Miles High in 1966. This week on Cover Me, we discovered that Jeff Beck invented it a year earlier with the Yardbirds. That's right, we're talking Heart Full of Soul on Cover Me.
Sick at heart and lonely, deep in dark despair, thinking one thought only, where is she, tell me.
That's right, it's Cover Me, the only podcast that compares famous songs to their many cover versions to find out which one would never make her sad. I'm your host, as always, The Snake, joined by my lonely co-host,
Alex Mildenberger.
Alex. Oh, how you doing, pal?
I'm here.
I'm here for you.
It's going.
It's going.
You know.
Oh, bud, you know, don't you know?
Things are going pretty good, actually.
Hey, right on.
You know, I was away last week, so had some vacation time, off work a little bit, just kind of getting back into the swing of things.
Oh,
the time changed also, so
That's
getting
right.
used to that, you know, but pretty good. Pretty good.
Pretty good. That's good stuff, Alex. Good to hear it. Glad to hear it. The weather's warming up here. I don't know about in Calgary.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it is pothole season. Yeah.
Pothole season. That's where you tuck away in the little hole and get baked, right?
Yeah, the holes exist because of the weather changes, so there's big holes you can crawl into.
Yeah.
And you just light up.
Yeah, it's Canadian custom to light up in big holes. Pothole season. Yeah, I guess it's pothole season here too, maybe. I don't know.
Anywhere it was cold and is warm now.
Now is pothole season.
Yeah.
Well, the more you know, Alex. Alex, turns out we're doing a theme month about psychedelic rock and avian-named bands.
Yeah, accidentally.
Accidentally, back to back.
We're doing it. And we're learning, I think. I'm learning.
Mm-hmm.
Some interesting stuff. I mean, we're talking about the Yardbirds today. We're talking about kind of psychedelic, like proto-psychedelic rock, because this raga rock style is influential on that too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting. And the
interesting
Yardbirds
stuff.
are interesting as well. This is just, there's so many interesting things, and like this song touched so many people and like on things that are important for other things, you know?
Yeah, it's so weird to like, because we kind of just picked this. You're like, well, here, there's this Yardbird song that has
it's
Jeff
one
Beck
that I
on
know,
it.
and there's a bunch of covers of it.
Yeah, and of course, we're talking about this because Jeff Beck recently passed 2 or 3 months ago, and we're just now getting around to it. But
it was January 1st, so like
January
just at the
1st.
beginning of the year.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it's not only like a Yardbird song, but the first Yardbird song with Jeff Beck, and one that he has like a very clear influence on.
Yeah, because they were trying to get this sitar to work. They decided they couldn't, and then he did it on his guitar. That's more in his style, right?
Yeah.
But it's like the things that it touched on, because like even we're talking about that that sitar player. Supposedly Jimmy Page was there, like in the studio at the time.
That's right.
And he bought that sitar and then used it later. Like that was the sitar he owned.
Yeah.
It was from that recording. Supposedly the fuzz effect was also borrowed from Jimmy Page, because Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page were kind of friends or acquaintances at the time. And even like Jeff Beck replacing Eric Clapton in the Yardbirds was supposedly they went to Jimmy Page first and he said, well, I know this other guy who can do it. Like I'm busy or whatever.
Okay. And then they both end up, there is a time that they were both guitarists in the Yardbirds.
Yes. And I even once heard that maybe it was a joke, but that Led Zeppelin was at one point going to call themselves the new Yardbirds or something like that.
I did read like a throwaway line on Wikipedia that said it was intended as like a Yardbirds like revival project.
Yeah.
Initially.
I mean, the Yardbirds are such a strange group in that way, because as much as they had hits, I know like 2 or 3 of their songs, maybe.
Yeah, I know For Your Love.
Yeah,
but only from
For
covers.
Your Love, Shapes of Things is another one.
Okay, I think I've heard the name of that.
That's actually covered on Pinups.
Oh, yeah. That would be why I know
by
it then.
David Bowie.
They got a song called White Summer, Alex.
Oh, how about that?
It's no good.
Train
Kept a Rollin'. Is that them originally?
No.
Is it different from the Aerosmith song?
I think it might be the same song, but I think it's like a old blues song.
Oh, okay.
It's like sense. Howlin' Wolf or something like that. I'd have to double check exactly who, but old blues guy. And the song was written by Graham Goldman, who we just talked about 10cc. He was also in 10cc. Like
that's right.
There's
co-lead singer and bassist
here, man.
Yeah, we've got connections going on here.
Yeah.
But yeah, big popular song. I didn't know it until this week, or like last week when we brought it up. But yeah, pretty cool song. Lyrically, not the greatest, I don't think.
Yeah, it's in this style, and Graham Goldman specifically was like wrote for a lot of these like bubblegum pop groups.
Right.
So it can be somewhat general, even vapid lyrics, but it's like reasonably tight songwriting, but not necessarily that meaningful.
Yeah, for sure. It feels teenaged. That brings it together. Bubblegum there. But yeah, let's tuck into that. Let's get into these because they are pretty simple. Sick at heart and lonely, deep in dark despair, thinking one thought only. Where is she? Tell me where. Yeah,
I mean, introduces the story here of the main character is pining for a woman who's not around.
Yeah, and he's sad about it.
He's despairing even. Yeah.
This is just Greensleeves, isn't it?
Yeah, this is just Greensleeves. Once again, alas, my love, you do me wrong.
Something like that.
I'm trying to remember the other words.
Alas, my love, you do me wrong. I am so sad, so I sing this song.
Yeah, that's the one. That's
the one. But yeah, so we get that he's sad. It's a heart sickness. So we know that love is probably the topic, unless he's literally medically sick. But I think that is
sick at heart. Like sick at heart. He's facing heart failure. I'm like,
he's facing heart failure. This is a man at the end of his days.
Yeah, he's despairing. I mean, maybe, it's an old man thinking back on his life. And he says, old man, I'm looking at
where is she? Yeah, he's losing his fucking brain. He doesn't know his wife's been dead for 20 years.
Yeah.
No, that's clearly not what's going on here. And if she says to you, she don't love me, just give her my message, tell her of my plea. So he's talking to... Either we, the audience, are supposed to know who this woman is, which I'm sorry, we don't. I don't fucking know who she is.
She's not giving us names.
Yeah, so he's talking to like a person, a go-between person, somebody who is a mutual friend of both parties here. And saying, hey, let her know.
Yeah, because he's still into this person who left
us. Yeah. And he's saying, listen, even if she says she doesn't love me, so he's using them as a messenger. He's like, you got to tell me what they're saying, and also I'll tell you what to say to them.
Yeah. You let her know that, and I know. That he knows,
I know.
That if she had me back again, I would never make her sad. I've got a heart full of soul.
I've got a heart full of soul.
Yeah, so presumably he in some way screwed up. He feels guilty about it, and he's still into this person, and he says, I won't do it again, but I can't talk to her. Someone else. Or maybe he wants to, but he can't find her, whatever.
We're left with some vague knowings of a wrongdoing that is his fault. He's saying, like, come on, man, let her know that if she takes me back, I'd never make her sad again. He doesn't come off sounding like the greatest dude here.
No, not really.
He's at the same tier of boyfriend as, like, Breakfast at Tiffany's guy.
Of like, yeah, well, we kind of liked that thing. That's something.
That's something, because, like,
right?
he's like, well, let her know that I've got a heart full of soul, which means nothing.
Yeah. Is it, that's, I guess, what I wanted to talk about now, is, does it mean nothing? What is it, like, because there's another version that's called, like, Heart Full of Love.
Okay.
And is that what that means?
I guess kind of. It feels like a very teenage idea since you brought up this bubblegum pop.
Well, it's a very slang type term as well.
Sure, yeah.
Like, what does it mean to have soul? Usually when you talk about having a full heart, you're talking about love.
Love, yeah.
But if it's a soul, yeah, I don't know.
It's just
a
like
strange term.
I am so human. Like, behold, my heart is full of soul. Like, do I not contain multitudes? Sure, I made her cry, but also look at all of my many facets. Usually,
when we say something has soul, we mean something like it evokes emotion.
Yes, I'm an emotional man. Is that what he's saying?
So does that just mean, like, I am feeling very strongly right now?
Yeah, like, it's just like, let her know I'd never make her sad because I feel very strongly about this.
I'm sad now about this.
Yeah.
It's like, did you ever see that? It's like Darwin's Journal. I realize now it's on the internet, so it could have been made up. But supposedly it's from Darwin's Journal, and it's just like one day journal entry, and it's like, I'm feeling very poorly today and like want to die or something like that. I don't know, reminded me of that for a second.
Yeah, it seems to be a very of the moment statement.
Yeah, and definitely, like, the term itself sounds kind of cool. Like, it sounds like it should mean something. But if it was a slang term that meant something, it hasn't really caught on.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. Really, I don't understand it. But, like, as a song name, Heart Full of Soul, it sounds cool.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe that's just part of it. Because it is a bit of, as we keep bringing up, like, it is a little bubblegummy in that it almost seems like it means something, but it might actually not.
Yeah. And again, we're talking about 65 here. We talked about songs from this era where you can't be too explicit sometimes.
True.
So I wonder if they just adapted to this style of, like, not saying things, but saying things that sounded like they meant something as a way to be like, well, nobody's going to censor this, but also nobody knows what it fucking means. So it can be just about anything.
True. It gets a little more vague in that way, but by necessity. And I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, there was... I'm trying to remember. I don't know when, like, the British, like, censorship board was dissolved. But I think they were around through the 60s.
For sure. Well, they were around in 66 probably. Well, that was America that the Birds got their song taken off the air, or proposed to be taken off the air. Because I'm thinking of 8 Miles High.
Right.
Because these songs are very close in release date, very close in like, musicality. We're dealing with the same, like, subgenre, or the startings of that. And then thinking about when we talked about those lyrics, we were pulling. It was rich. It was a rich mine of poetry, and it was like, oh, there's so many different ways to look at this, and it all looks pretty good. We're looking at I've got a heart full of soul, and it's like, I don't know what the fuck this means.
Yeah, like, it's a fairly straightforward story. Like that particularly, the heart full of soul.
Yeah. Everything is straightforward until you hit this line, and it's like, okay.
Full of something.
I got a heart full of stone.
Piece things together.
Yeah, I get that it's supposed to mean he bears some quality that makes him worthy of being a lover. Once more.
That's I mean, that's really his argument, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, or rather his evidence, kind of. He said, I would never make you sad.
Yeah.
Why?
I've
got a heart full of soul. Isn't it obvious? Like, as like a logical statement, it ticks all the boxes. But if you analyze it, it doesn't necessarily make sense.
It doesn't. And yeah, I guess there's another implicit. There's the implicit why that leads to I've got a heart full of soul, and then the implicit unlike other people. Because like, if you've got a heart of soul and everybody's got a heart full of soul, what does it fucking matter?
It doesn't matter.
Which again feels like a very like teenager attribute to be like, well, I've got something special, and you're like, well, what's your special thing? They're like, I feel, man.
Like, oh, okay,
okay, all right.
Yeah. So maybe that's the appeal. Maybe that is the appeal.
Yeah, it's just that sensation of being like, well, I hope she'll take me back because I feel like I'm a pretty special guy.
Yeah, and I'm kind of sad about this whole thing, or even very sad.
Yeah, very sad. Well, because you know what? She's been gone such a long time.
Yeah.
Longer than I can bear, but if she says she wants me, tell her I'll be there.
Yeah, I mean, pretty basic. He's still lonely, but the second she comes back, he'll take her.
Yeah, he'll be quick.
He's feeling bad about this.
He's feeling bad about this whole thing. And it's been a long time, so the wound's not fresh. Unless it's been like a day and he's like,
or it's an exaggeration
of
the situation.
We got to trust the narrator on some ground here, I guess. I'm going to trust it's been a long time.
True. Or either way, it's been longer than he can bear. So,
is this song from the perspective of like a dog that's been tied up outside while somebody goes to get a coffee?
He's just been gone for literally the entire history of the universe.
Please, God, let her know. I'll take her back.
When we were in Seattle, we saw someone feed a tied up dog something.
Yeah.
Was that their dog?
I don't know.
Yeah, it was not clear. They like threw them like a ice cream.
Right, we were just in the alley there, and they like just tossed him some treats, and I was like, is that dog's like game? Like he's not even tied up. He'll just yank the leash and be like, well, thanks everyone. Time to go home.
He brings out a top hat and people start throwing treats in it. And
thank you.
Anyway, I'm getting
gone
distracted.
A long time. Tell her I'll be there. So he's like, please, whoever you are, so and so person also going into this cafe, let her know I'll be there. She wants me to come inside the Starbucks with her.
Yeah, he's just waiting for her outside the cafe. He's like, I didn't want to go in. It was nice outside. I'm so lonely now.
I just miss her.
If you see her when you go in, just tell her.
Tell her I'm still here. I'm left.
So this song is about a dog. This song is a dog who just can't handle separation.
Who just can't handle with separation anxiety. I think that's a great angle on this track.
That's kind of what it is about.
The Yardbirds song about a dog.
But a dog
heart full of soul.
Waiting for its owner outside.
And you know what? I think people would describe a dog as having a heart full of soul. They'd be like, oh, that dog, he's got a heart full of soul.
It sounds like when you say it like that, Southern.
Yeah, I definitely painted it with a certain brush.
But it works.
But yeah, ultimately, it's a bubblegum pop song done by a rock band.
Yeah, with some cool sounds to it.
With some very
that's all
cool
the words,
sounds.
Really. Like there's another pre-chorus, and then chorus, but they're the same as before.
Yeah. And so what makes this so memorable is that there's a guitar that goes.
Yeah, it's got a pretty cool riff to it, and it's like real fuzzy.
Yes.
So, old school fuzz. I built a fuzz box myself, and there's some similar qualities, mostly in that the fuzz makes it very, very thin sounding. And yet very distorted.
Yeah, I wonder if that thinness is what some people, because people say like there's some of the contemporary reviews are like, oh, there's an Eastern influence on Jeff Beck's guitar playing. I wonder if that thinness of sound is maybe associated with that.
I think that's part of it. Obviously, he's trying to emulate a sitar.
Yeah.
And I think he kind of makes a kind of a drone sound, like he lets some strings ring or something like that.
Yeah, there was something to that effect. There's like an open D or something going on.
Yeah, because a sitar has what is it called? Like sympathetic resonating strings or something like that. I don't know how it works mechanically exactly.
Yeah.
But it creates a drone sound when you play it, basically.
Yeah.
And he was kind of trying to make it sound like that. So yeah, I guess. I don't know how, when they say Eastern influence, I feel like that's almost backwards. Like he's more like just kind of trying to emulate the sound of a sitar. But I feel like if it was like actual Eastern influence, then they could have actually got the sitar player thing working. Because really the problem, it sounds like, was more with style. Like this sitar player wasn't used to playing in this 4/4
in a rock and roll 4. Yeah, exactly.
So it just didn't really match up with what they were expecting, and they couldn't make it work. Obviously, other artists did make it work later. They just couldn't get it.
So I wonder how much of it was like impatience. They're like, we can't just sit here and teach a sitar player rock and roll, even though it's like one of the simplest forms of music.
Yeah, I mean, we say simple, but it's still like any genre is to a degree like culturally specific.
Right.
You know?
So yeah, you're trying to get this guy to change his internal metronome.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that is a big shift. It's learning another language in some way. So even if it is basic, like it's
or at least like language or dialect, like it's different.
Yeah. It's different, and he struggled with that. And I guess they struggled to get him to have it cut through. So yeah, you get him going, okay, I'll make an electric guitar sound like a sitar, which was kind of the earlier approach anyway, and maybe like
that's
what
true.
people
the
were
Birds
ready
did
for.
the same thing.
The Birds did the same thing.
Because they didn't actually have a sitar.
No, they didn't.
And I think Norwegian Wood is the first song, or the first popular song at least.
Yeah, there's like there is some even stuff before this that I think has like Eastern music in it, like some stuff on Help, I believe, has like interstitial like sitars and shit.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, you look at the early examples, they say like Heart Full of Soul is one of the biggest ones. But the 1965 single See My Friends by the Kinks was another big hit.
Right.
But that uses open-tuned guitars to imitate the drone produced by an Indian tambura. What do we got? The Beatles' Ticket to Ride featured a melody that author Ian MacDonald terms raga-like. So you get these drone-like elements kind of come in first. And then you get the sitar replication on electric guitars. The 1965 film Help included incidental music played by Indian session musicians.
Oh, in the movie.
That's tricky. Yeah. Okay. So you kind of get these different points. But yeah, it's looking like you're right. It looks like Norwegian Wood is maybe the first rock solid example of sitar sitar in raga rock.
Yeah. But you see this progression, right? Like we talked about it when we talked about the Birds as well, of like they made the first psychedelic rock song, but it was like the industry was on a trajectory and they were just along that trajectory. So if the song hadn't happened, we would still have psychedelic rock. Maybe it would be a little different, but more or less we would have the same ideas, or a lot of the same ideas.
Yeah, conceptually, there was raga was always going to mesh with rock at some point in some way. It just happened to be in these ways that it came through.
Yeah, and these are ways it was interpreted.
Yeah, so what we're looking at today is like the first like notable point. It's like when you're putting in a spice into a dish, and it's like this is the point where you actually notice that the spice is in there. People are actually like really seeing it and going like, "Oh yeah, it sounds like a sitar."
Yeah, even like all that said, really, that guitar is like pretty much the thing.
Yeah.
Right? Because they have the tabla.
Yeah.
But it's not really used as a tabla. Right?
Yeah, it doesn't like overwhelmingly accent the piece in any way.
It's pretty much used as a cowbell.
Yeah.
And I honestly didn't even know it was a tabla. Like I've heard this song a fair amount. But just assumed that was another one of the drums, like a wood block or a
right, because
cowbell or something.
It's used to that effect, and there's nothing, particularly like signature tabla about it.
Yeah, it just kind of like tabla can be so fast, like it can be such intricate rhythms and stuff. If you listen to some like Indian music with it, because it's played like with your fingers, right?
Yeah,
so, like, you can do these pretty crazy rhythms, but it's really just like ba, but like it's
Yeah,
it's a backbeat accent. Like that's all it is.
And again, that might be like you said, it's like this rhythm artist knows a certain style of rhythm, and 4/4 rock is so outside of it that he's like, okay, I can hit like the start of the measure, like I can hit that.
Yeah, and ultimately the Yardbirds, like they wanted the flavor of the instruments, but they didn't really want the style.
Yeah.
And that's probably, I'm assuming, why it didn't ultimately work out, particularly with the sitar player.
Yeah. That seems to make sense to me. So we've discussed the guitar
quite a bit.
I think people have got it nailed down that there is a guitar on this track.
Yeah, there is a guitar. In fact, there's at least
several. Because there was also a rhythm guitar.
Yeah, I like that rhythm guitar, and this came up with the Birds as well. But I would also call this chunky.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can feel that sensation.
Just because the way it's played is like kind of like fast and hard.
Yeah.
But also discreet, like and then like let it just ring.
Yeah, that's where you get that big piece of fat there. It's letting it ring out there. Yeah, that checks out to me. So you get that tabla, and you get. I thought I read somewhere that the Yardbirds are known for their vocal harmonies, and then I couldn't find it again. So are they known for their vocal harmonies?
I don't know. Actually,
or just 60s bands known for that.
A lot of 60s bands are, but like we talked about that with the Birds.
Yeah, that might be what I'm thinking of, because we got the Yardbirds, we got the Birds with a Y, and then there's the Birds with an I, who nobody actually knows.
Yeah, who's who? What is what? Why are we all birds? Are they talking about women?
I guess because birds sing?
Actually, no. There's the Yardbirds were named after, or it's. I don't remember if it was explicitly stated, but the term Yardbird is used in On the Road.
Oh, okay.
To refer to rail yard hobos.
Nice.
Yeah. So it could be a Kerouac reference.
That would make sense.
As for the other ones, I don't know. Especially the American Birds, because they wouldn't have been referring to women as birds, most likely.
No, and they got that Y in there to really throw you off the trail.
So, I don't know.
The Beards. Yeah. But the big thing we get here, somebody mentioned in the reviews as well that Graham Goldman's known for being a genius at effectively alternating tempos and major minor modes, which is used in Heart Full of Soul. Oh. Particularly notable in just a change up from verse to chorus.
I like that. That's a good change up, because you get into that, and I know, and then the guitar says, you know.
It's galloping. It's so
that is a cool switch up for sure. Because before that, it's mostly the rhythm guitar is just kind of strumming. Dun, 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 pretty straightforward. Just strumming chords. And then you move into that, even the pre-chorus, what is called the pre-chorus in these lyrics. It's not much differentiation there.
No.
Between the verse and the pre-chorus. It's not much of a build, but it is definitely a section that leads into the chorus.
Yeah.
Sort of. Because you don't get it. You don't always get it before the chorus, but anyway.
But when you do, it leads into the chorus.
When you do, it leads into the chorus.
That makes it pre-chorus.
Makes it pre-chorus, yeah. But yeah, the chorus definitely.
Yeah, and I know. And that is the sell on this song, because I am skeptical of the lyrics, is in vocal delivery and in that backing done by the instruments, is in the song parts of the song. Right, what really sells it.
Right. I guess we talk about songwriting. Sometimes it's easy to get distracted by lyric writing, but there's really more to it.
Yeah.
And that is the instrumentation.
Because you got Keith. Is his name Keith Gelf or something like that? Ralph. Fucking, I had his name here. Keith Ralph. Yeah.
Ralph.
He's doing your lead vocals, and then you get the backing guys in the verse going whoa, and then even bigger effect of that on the chorus.
Yes, it's a the feel on this song is interesting, and it's mostly from those. Maybe it's just the echo on the vocals. Mm-hmm. There's quite a bit of echo on the vocals.
Yeah.
But it almost has a strange loose feeling to it.
There is definitely it feels like it's in an open space.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly what that means or how that happens, but it feels interesting.
Yeah, maybe it amplifies the loneliness. I mean, with that and like the galloping guitar you get in the chorus, there's a bit of like cowboy vibe on this without being country music.
A little bit. We're definitely not in country yet.
Yeah, but it's got some of that flavor to it, like Hollywood cowboy. Maybe it's a little cinematic, but it's not really southern.
What else is going on in this song?
What else? Clanging cymbals, big stings on the heart.
That's
The heart line
right? Starts hitting the cymbals.
The heart of soul line is like where it really comes together, right? It's I got a heart full of soul, and then you hit the intro riff again.
Okay, there's one other thing I noticed that I thought was very strange. I don't know exactly what's going on, but there's the bass feels like a hole, kind of like you can hardly hear it. Like you kind of know it's there, but it's almost like it's there because it's not there. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like I don't really know what's going on in the low end of this song. Is what I'm saying. It's like not there.
It is pretty minimal bass. When it is there, it's either just hitting the chords with everybody, or it's just like a plodding, almost country style. It's like boom, boom.
But it's not just not there. It's like you listen for it and you can't hear it, but it's not the same as it not being there. Like it's being pulled away. You know what I'm saying?
It's like
it's the absence of bass, or rather, it's the anti-bass, not an absence of bass. I don't know. It's very strange, and I feel like maybe it's like a phase thing. Because I think it happens a little bit. Like we were talking about the cymbals in the chorus, and they sort of, when you hit the hi-hat and it's open, it sort of mutes itself.
Yeah,
it does that. And that's how I feel about the bass. I don't know. It's hard to understand
it fully. You kind of hear it start, like it'll go boom, but it doesn't quite ring out, although it feels like it should.
Yeah.
But you still kind of feel its presence, maybe. I'm not sure, Alex.
Yeah, maybe it's just because it's an old recording and the low end isn't super great.
That could very well be it.
Because it was, 65, 66?
65.
Yeah. Long time ago.
Long time ago. That's this one. Guitar solo is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's mostly just the existing melody.
Yeah.
And then, like, the riff, but it's got the tone. It's Jeff Beck doing this thing.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
And that was what guitar solos were back then. We just wanted to see if they could sound like people.
True. Like, just do the melody we already know, and then we're going back into it. The whole thing's only 2.5 minutes long.
Yeah.
So, it's over pretty quick.
Yeah, and once you've done the first run, you pretty much know what's coming up on the second half here. You get chorus, you get verse, you get chorus
slightly different verse. But yeah, that's kind of the song.
It's pretty quick. That's the song, man. That is fully the song. It's got covers. It's got covers for days.
It does. I mean, it has a music video, but there's not much to it. It's mostly the band performing it.
Yeah, any highlights, Alex?
Superimposition of the singer over.
Oh, yeah, and it says Yardbirds at the start there. That wasn't in the studio when they recorded it.
Yeah, they added that in post.
Yeah. Singer's wearing sunglasses.
And allegedly, supposedly Jimmy Page is also in this recording, or in this video, but might have made that up. No, I made that up.
I only know old man Jimmy Page, so you'd have to look like that for me to recognize him. Say this, the Yardbirds singer with sunglasses on looks like Tom Petty.
He does, doesn't he? He's got blonde hair, he's got the mustache.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's not much else to it than that.
No. Rest in peace, Tom Petty. Rest in peace, probably a lot of the Yardbirds.
Yeah, not all of them, but a lot of them.
Not all of them.
I mean, there's a whole separate page.
A Jimmy Page? For a list of Yardbird members. Yeah, so. I've seen that. We're about to get into a separate page of this podcast where we talk about Els Drax from 1965.
Yes.
M'he quedat sense esma, no sóc bo per res. Si ho sabeu, digueu-me, l'amor meva.
So they're from Catalonia, Spain.
Yes. Catalonian, so their name means the dragons in Catalan.
Ah, Els Drax. Yeah, so tell me about Catalan, Alex. I know you're a big language head.
Well, I looked it up a little bit. It's mostly, they were very specific that it's not a Spanish dialect, it is its own language. It's a language spoken in some regions of Spain, mostly what you would call Catalonia, and I think some other places perhaps. But I remember a couple years back hearing like I don't think it's an endangered language, but like there's not necessarily like it's a fairly specific one. It's like constricted to a region, and you can't really speak it outside of that region. So
right, and since it doesn't have broad applications, nobody's like, I'm going to learn Catalan. So
yeah.
I can go to Catalonia.
Yeah, it is in many ways similar to Spanish, as I understand. Like, even if you search Els Dracs, or if you like Google Translate it from Spanish, it's like the Drakes. I'm like, well, that's similar to the dragons. Like, it's not the same, but it's pretty
not the
close.
exact same, but yeah, conceptually similar.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So this one is different lyrics. It's in Catalan.
Yeah. Un cor fet d'amour.
A heart made of love, if Google Translate is to be believed. Yeah. He's run out of Esma.
He's run out of Esma?
Yeah, I think that is a word that Google does not know, but that's like the first
I didn't
line.
translate the lyrics.
I translated the lyrics here. It says, I have run out of Esma. I'm not good for anything. If you know, tell me, my love, where it is. So conceptually similar. Esma, I don't need to know what it is to know the rest of these. But yeah, he's in a similar spot. He's down. He feels like he's not good for anything, and because he's missing his love. And either this song is very progressive, or more likely Google Translate just can't handle the masculine, feminine pronouns.
Yeah, I had a similar. That's a different song. Yeah.
Okay.
Translating from Portuguese, where I was like, I don't think this person identifies that way, but anyway.
Yeah, and then it shifts in another verse here. But if he tells you that he doesn't even want the memory of me, you can tell him that love kills me. Which honestly
love kills me.
Sounds way cooler than the original.
That is a very like dramatic way of saying it for sure.
Yeah. Because it almost sounds like he's saying, like, if they're saying they don't want to remember me, then like I'll do it. I'll fucking kill myself because I love them. Let them know I died for love so that they don't have to remember me.
Yeah.
I am sure that if I wanted to be by his side, I would find myself changed. I have a heart made of love. That's the one that's a bit, like same idea, but I think that first line must be fucked up. I'm sure that if I wanted to be by his side, I think you do.
It's like kind of backwards, right?
Yeah, it's kind of backwards.
If they wanted to be by my side.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then I would, they'd find I was a different person.
Yeah. And so the next one's like, she's been away from me for so long that I can't bear it. If he misses me, you must tell me. I will go to console him. Same, like exactly the same almost as verse 2.
Yeah, as soon as they say they want me, I'm there.
So they kind of pretty much nailed it. I like you can tell him that love kills me. I think that's fucking rad.
Yeah. As far as like high drama goes, that's right there.
That's right there. Yeah, we're escalating that teenage love drama.
Mm-hmm.
But what does it sound like? Sounds like the Yardbirds.
It does sound like the Yardbirds. It's a little different.
Yeah, of course.
It's buzzier in the guitar sound. I like
almost
their little
surfier.
bends. Yeah.
Is there another one that sounds? No, that's this one. The surf rock
in the
tone
way
on that guitar. Yeah,
it's kind of I don't know. Maybe the attack of the guitar is very sharp, something like that. It's kind of got a pop to it.
Yeah, and they hit a chord near the start there. That which is like that's surf rock. Like the tone and everything is.
When it's like with the piano as well.
No, I think it's just the guitar. If you go to like 16 seconds, you'll
I'm a little earlier.
It's every time they do that,
yes.
like bam, bam, bam,
where they kind of do the slow,
they do like the rake,
yeah. Yeah, it's got that. I mentioned I like the bends.
The bends are sweet.
Not decompression sickness. Hey.
I hate it when I get the bends when I'm diving,
But on the guitar, I find they're a little more noticeable here. You kind of get them in the original, but this kind of slows them down a bit.
Yeah, and that's like one of the nicer things about low budget covers. Sometimes is like you tuck into a little more of the technique because you can't hide it. Not that you could really hide it on the Yardbirds, but
There's less of that distortion on this one, though.
Yes. So it's a
there's
little
less
cleaner,
stuff in the way.
a little simpler, this version.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of... It does feel... This one is where I started thinking Cowboys.
Okay.
Possibly
yeah.
just because it is not quite, but close enough,
Close
to Spanish.
to Spanish, yes.
So that might have been it.
We have a big listenership in Catalan, so I appreciate your Catalonia. So I appreciate you really playing
I have
softball
to be very
with the language
specific.
there.
Spanish, Catalan, not the same thing. Completely
Not the
different.
same.
But
Very
to my
different.
ears, exactly the same.
Exactly the same. Yeah. Yeah, I could see some of that. I think I picked up on the surf rock tones a lot more, which is also just like the 60s.
Yeah. 60s.
But I could see a cowboy surf into this, sure.
Yeah, this is cowboy surf rock. On the dunes, on the sand dunes.
A lot more mellow because we don't have the same like power of backing vocals or even the punch of distortion. Like it is one of those ones where it's like you take this newly developed sound to a place that doesn't have that tech yet, and now it sounds like a throwback tune almost, even though it's the same
just
year.
Out of necessity.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't have any. I don't think they do anything that is similar to the tabla part. Like they don't have a cowbell or anything.
No, it's a very simple percussion section. It's pretty plain.
Yeah.
A little bit of drum rolls at the end.
I already mentioned the piano. It kind of. It's there. It plays chords.
It is present.
It's part of that. I mentioned the original has a very chunky rhythm section. Actually,
Yes.
this one skips that rhythm guitar for the most part in the verses. And there's a very brief moment just after a minute, like 103-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a theremin?
Let me see.
Why would you have a theremin for
Hang
like
on.
a second?
Coming up on it. Oh, yeah, what the fuck? Is
Yeah, I don't know.
It is like a ghostly shrieking,
Yeah.
which is theremin-esque, if not just a theremin.
Yeah, it sounds like a theremin.
I don't know how else they
but
would
why would you have a
produce that.
theremin for like half a second?
They got a guy, they
We got a
got him on
theremin
the
play.
band.
We got to
He's
let
like,
him on all the tracks.
gotta
He
put the
doesn't show up
theremin right
to
here.
our rehearsals, but legally he's part of the band.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's El Drax.
El
I'm
Drax.
saying that wrong.
Hey, man. That's okay sometimes, I think.
Drax.
Els Drax.
Drax.
That's the Drakes.
The Drakes. The Dragons, even.
Coming up next on the
coming
radio,
up
it's Graham Goldman and the Johnny Mann Singers in 1965.
Sick and tired and lonely, deep in dark despair, thinking one thought only, where is she?
Yeah. What's going on with this one? This is, I mean, it's in the title. It's on the album art at least. Distilled for easy listening.
Yeah, that sums this up 100%.
Yeah, it's you talked about how the last one felt a little throwback. This is like,
This is
is it
deliberate
still
and clear.
throwback? It's definitely like older style or like pop style, but not rock and roll.
It's if nothing else, a throwback to the older generation so that they will listen to it.
Yeah, and that's what this is. I mean, Graham Goldman's name is in this credited here, but I think
Attached? Yeah.
just as the original songwriter, right? Like,
Right, yeah, I don't think he actually worked with they're from Baltimore, so
yeah,
he would have to come over to the States in 1965 for some reason.
right. It's this Johnny Mann singers. Johnny Mann was the band leader.
Yes.
He was a conductor, and I think played
Arranger, composer, conductor, entertainer, singer, and recording artist.
So I don't think he played anything, but he did. He
Yeah.
wrote songs. Apparently, he wrote some radio jingles, including one that was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the movie.
Okay, I saw that
but,
movie recently.
You
I
don't
haven't
know
seen
what
it.
that sounded like. So
like an
apparently, they did a
old-ass
bunch of those.
Fucking jingle.
Yes, and this is their interpretation of "Heart Full of Soul." But yeah, it feels to me, it feels very like swinging '60s. It reminded me of like Austin Powers.
Yeah.
And yet this is still like 65, so it's very present.
Yes.
But not rock and roll, baby.
No, certainly not. We open with some do.
Yes, they've moved it to voice. And that's
Yes.
kind of the, like, stylistically we talked about it, but in terms of the nuts and bolts of what happens in here, a lot of stuff moves to voice. There's sort of the male section and the female section.
Yeah.
They're in the, I believe, left and right earphones, respectively.
You are correct, yes.
And they make some of the sounds, including
do.
that riff.
That riff, yeah, they do that riff. And it's the dudes, their vocal style is, I mean, like he said, it is so very throwback. Sick and sad and lonely.
Deep and dark,
yeah. Despair.
Yeah, they're singing deep, the low parts, and the women are singing the high parts, and yeah, they're doing that.
Yeah,
they
and
sing
there
the
is
lyrics.
like some guitar. It's like they brought a guitarist, he was excited to do it, and then the Johnny Mann singers just came and kicked his ass, and they're like, you don't play loud on this.
Don't play loud, you play clean. Although there is a guitar solo, and it doesn't use the original solo.
Yeah, even that's got some big ooze in the back, though.
They swing it, right? This is the one, yeah. Like I said,
Yeah.
swing in 60s, but they literally swing it a bit. So this is kind of the, like, we talk about easy listening, but there's a dance aspect to it as well, I think.
Right.
And that, yeah, so it gives it a different feel.
Yes.
So to me, it almost feels like this throwback thing, and it's amusing in that way, but it's also funny because it came out the same year as the original, and like was just a jumping on a trend.
Yeah,
But
it's
with
like
an
it
old
was
style thing,
just
so it's kinda
made
funny.
for a different TV show, like a different variety
Right.
show. Like there's the one for the youth, and then there's the one for your mom, and like this one is playing on your mom's TV show.
Yeah. And I thought it was amusing and like kind of fun, but I can see how it was, probably a very corporate decision. Well, I say that, but it's the Johnny Mann singers, so I don't know who is behind them in terms of the money, but
Yeah, I don't know who's at the top of this operation.
like it's kind of fun.
It didn't do much for me. It was, I wrote, I don't give a fuck about these lyrics or about these styles of performing them. So
Yeah, it would be kind of fun to dance to, but like not one I would go back to, sort of thing. Like if I heard it,
Yeah.
like I know this song.
I would play
do
this
a-
at like an ironic 60s party.
yeah, for
I feel
sure.
like we all hate the 60s, right? Check out this Johnny Mann Singers cover
Yeah,
of a song from the same year.
and yeah, other than that, follows are pretty close. Other than the guitar solo is totally different, but it fits in with this different style.
Yeah. It's, solidly built for what it is. I just don't think what it is
Yeah.
good. Are we jumping all the way to 2018, or is that just, no, wait, I've got this fucked up.
86.
86 for Chris Isaak. I just didn't put my notes in the right place.
Isaac.
Sick and hard and lonely, deep in dark despair. When you want her only, tell me where is she? Where?
Yes, Chris Isaak. He's called a rockabilly revivalist and also roots rock.
Yeah.
Some things. I hear the rockabilly revivalist, but it is still 1986.
Right.
And it's like a little post-punk in some ways.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like,
It wouldn't be out of place with like REM tracks. Like
yeah, like it's got like maybe it's just the way it uses echo or something, but it is definitely like 80s.
Yeah.
As much as he's got, like, you can see him on the cover of this album, he's kind of got like the 50s hair thing going on. So there's definitely some throwback to it, but like it's got this dark edge that you get from
like a Smiths album.
yeah, exactly, which is interesting. I called it Sad Cowboy.
Yeah, that's it. Nailed it. Next song.
So yeah, it's got a little bit of that twang, but like it's got this echo that kind of gives it this desolate sound.
Yeah.
And once again, kind of all sounds like a theremin sometimes, but I think it's guitar here.
Yeah. There's like this weird tambourine echo thing too. This ting, 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 ting.
It's got a lot of echo,
Yeah,
which is
a lot
in
of
keeping
echo,
with the original.
a lot of moody tones on this.
Yeah.
Oh
a
yeah, I
minute
think
longer.
I assumed it was a. No, you're right. It is a guitar. I thought that theremin part was a violin at first.
Yeah.
because it has a bit of a string quality to it, but I think it is just a guitar with effects.
With effects. Yeah. It is kind of funky though. I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to find. I have a timestamp, but I'm trying to find it.
Yeah, I had it.
There's
Hang on.
definitely like he's definitely playing like some guitar. What are they called? Harmonics. The other thing they have, I think, is a slide guitar because it does have a bit of that.
Okay,
Gives it a bit of that, you know. I talked about cowboys and country already, right?
Yeah.
So it's
This sounds
in
like
that.
what I would hear on a family road trip. So I like kind of dug through his other tracks to see if there was something that had
That
been
you
played,
recognize?
but no, I think he just has like that post-punk sound that
It was 86, so it was kind of present. It's available
yeah.
to use. Maybe think of John Mellencamp, but that might have just been the album cover.
That might just be the album
'Cause
cover.
I wouldn't say that as post-punky, though we did
No.
that John Mellencamp cover of The Man Who Sold the World.
Sold the World.
That was
yeah.
weird.
That was weird.
But I was quite amused by this one. I thought it had a neat sound to it. And
Yeah, I definitely like
a
the
different
sound on
feel
this.
from the original. And I think the sort of it introduces a feeling of desolation that we haven't really gotten.
Yeah, we're actually engaging more with the lyrics at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, even the Yardbirds, like, there's a bit of, like, darkness maybe, but, like, predominantly we're there to push pop sounds and this crazy new thing called pretending to be a sitar.
Yeah. And fuzz, generally.
And
which
fuzz,
is-
yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently a month before the Rolling Stones used it on, I want to say Satisfaction?
Satisfaction.
Yeah.
So, way to go, the Yardbirds.
Way to go, the
Forgotten.
Yardbirds.
But
We
not
do get a
really.
fake out ending on this.
Gee, he goes through stuff again. Is that true?
Yeah, he
repeats?
returns to the first verse,
Yes.
does the main title line a bunch.
Yeah, so that's why this one is a minute longer because he
Yeah.
has a long outro.
Yeah, because at like 1:55, he plays us for fools.
Because
then-
we are fools.
Yeah, and then by 2:03, we're back into it. But yeah, I like this version. I like the vibes on it.
Yeah.
You know who else is cool though? The Canadian sensation Rush. In
Canadian
the year 2004.
sensation Rush.
Sick at heart and lonely, deep in dark despair, thinking one thought only, where is she?
We know these guys.
We know these guys.
We saw these guys. We've talked about them before. This is
We've
why I
talked
know
about this
song.
album before.
We have talked about this album before. This is why I know this song. This is why I know Shapes of Things as well.
Okay, because that is also on here.
Feedback. It's an EP, I think, technically.
Yeah, because there's 8 songs on it. It's 27 minutes.
Yeah. You gave me this for my birthday or something.
Yeah, on
A couple
vinyl?
years back on vinyl.
Yeah, you say a couple, like 6.
Yeah.
6 to 8 years ago.
When you still lived in Calgary.
Oh yeah, it was, and when friends of ours were still living in Tuscany,
Yeah.
it was quite some time ago.
Yeah. Not that Tuscany. But Tuscany. Lift.
Yeah, our friends were living in Tuscany, Italy. We
Yeah.
used to just take day trips
Just
out
on, what do you call them? A villa. Just a villa in Tuscany.
there. A Chilla Villa.
Chilla Villa. That's what we should have called their place. Anyway,
Damn, that would have been good. We're not smart.
no.
We're not smart people.
No.
We're
We
just
can
men.
just keep calling places the Swaggin' Estates, though.
Hell yeah. Because
Anyway.
we have swag. But you know what else we got? We got to talk about putting distortion onto a psychedelic rock track.
We do. How does that make you feel?
The whole Rush feedback album is just like pretty good.
Right. It's a strange thing. It really inspired me to seek out the originals.
Mm-hmm.
Personally. But at the end of the day, like it is very much Rush, very much playing.
Very
these
much
songs,
playing.
if that
It's
makes
the
sense.
same way like a bad Bowie album is still technically good,
Because it's still like David Bowie music, and we're
Still-
fans.
and we're fans. Like Rush isn't doing anything wrong here. They're just not doing like anything insane, which we know they can do. We've talked about their sort of music arrangement and composition because we've talked about originals of theirs before, and it's not pop music. It's much closer to like actual like composition. Like it's actually like almost orchestral at times, and sometimes indeed they have an orchestra. So this is real simple for Rush. That's what I will say.
It is, and one thing that is interesting about it to me, when we were talking about the original, I mentioned it. There's an imprecise feeling to it, and maybe it's from the echo, maybe it's just from the recording, but it has that feeling. And Rush is very much a precise band.
Yes.
And this is a very precise version of it. You know, they still sound, you know, they make it sound like Rush, but like it doesn't have that same quality.
You're right. It's crisply made.
And in terms of like production, well, it feels very, I guess, modern in that way. And there's some cool details too. Like usually with Rush things, it is definitely simpler than like Rush songs.
Sure,
but
yeah.
there's layers of guitars, and you can hear that.
Yeah.
So you can hear the rhythm, which is kind of more like floaty and less chunky, and like then you get the riff on like a lead, and everything is like exactly where it should be because they're very precise, you know?
Yeah.
So it definitely feels different in that way. And if there's like a scrappiness to the original that is not present at all.
Yeah, not present on this, but like it's well produced, and that is, I think, still a mark in its favor. Like the tones on these guitars are great.
I mean, I really like this song.
Yeah.
But it's also, you know, it's the first version of the song I heard. It's a band I really like.
Yeah, I like Geddy Lee's vocals too. Like,
yeah.
And there's a little bit of like radio filter on it, so it provides that like distance via the radio. You get that kind of loneliness. He's like, I'm projecting this message out to the world. Like, I'm telling you to tell her. I don't even know who to talk to get to her.
Yeah.
Some cool droning guitars in the second verse. Yeah, but pretty straightforward.
Yeah, once again, close cover. Another thing about, like I mentioned, Rush is precise, and part of that extends to, like, when they play their own songs, they're trying to recreate them, you know?
Yeah.
The sound of the album. And they do a good job of that.
Yeah, they do.
But then when they're covering songs, they also don't step out of the lines much.
And they do
color it in with interesting colors.
Yeah.
But it's still within the lines.
And even, like, thematically, this EP, Feedback, does play with a lot of like distortion and stuff on it. It's like the songs work well together, and their versions all seem to have that through line where you can be like, I can tell these are all from the same sessions because they all have this very clear like musical signature.
Yeah.
They also did this at Rush, for their 30th anniversary tour.
R30.
They had a couple of like laundry machines going in the back. Did you watch this video?
I saw the thumbnail. That was all.
Okay, yeah. It's different because it's Geddy and Alex Lifeson on guitars. So they're just doing acoustic guitars, and then Neil Peart eventually jumps in with drums. But yeah, that's kind of like the vibe of it's just like, this is a song we like. We're gonna sit down and play it for you now. And it's very, very relaxed, and that's, I think, part of Rush's vibe is also just being kind of relaxed, despite the grandeur of some of their music.
Yeah, it's cool. Especially, I mean, I remember reading about why when they were like picking songs for Feedback, and it was like, these are the songs we used to play in the 60s.
Yeah.
When we were like just starting out in the 60s and 70s. So like, it's kind of a throwback thing for them. So it's cool.
Yeah, they're coming back to it and see how they've changed. But yeah, that's Rush.
Yeah, and the washing machine. So basically, I think I may have talked about this before. Because Rush started basically just piping all their sounds backstage and then into the PA system, they weren't using amps on stage anymore.
Oh, so they just had space.
Just like put other stuff on. So when I went to see them, they had like a bunch of rotisserie chickens.
Okay,
like big rotisserie machines with like, I assume fake chickens, and then here they have washing machines. So just like put other stuff on stage where amps would be.
Right.
to fill
It
space.
makes for a very fun stage.
It's it's a little joke that like no one points it out, and you're like, why is there a washing machine? Like they're kind of silly guys, and they're like, write very serious music.
They're like very Canadian. That they're like, oh, we're doing some serious stuff, but we're very relaxed. Like even like looking at them in that live video, they're just wearing like a sweater and some jeans.
That's true. They wear jeans. Getty's shirt says GGG Star. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, just like some random brand or whatever. It looks like he just was going out to a recreational fucking hockey game or something.
He could be like any guy.
Yeah, he could be anyone.
You could see him on the streets of Hamilton or whatever and be like, that's just a guy.
Exactly. So Rush, good band, solid vibes on this cover, solid vibes all around. Speaking of things that are fast though, Peter Pan's Speedrock in 2014.
Yes.
Also known as PPS or PPSR or P-Pisser as I call it for short.
This version is faster, maybe, but it's definitely longer.
Definitely longer. Another 320
also.
version here. They're Dutch. They're from Eindhoven in the Netherlands.
Yeah, this is basically a Motorhead version.
Yeah, basically, right?
Because that's Speedrock, right? Or like Motorhead is associated with amphetamines, and I think that's where the speed comes from. Not necessarily
that would make sense.
Speed, but also there's some speed there.
Those vocals on this, it's like I was like, oh, it's Motorhead.
That's Lemmy. Yeah, well, it's not Lemmy, but you know.
Yeah, see, it sounds like a kind of drunk, aggressive, growly man, and it really
is
works
very
for me.
Aggressive.
Yeah.
Yes, they've got that real like low, distorted, heavy sound.
Yes,
it's a cool sound.
It's a very cool sound.
Yeah, we haven't talked about Motorhead much, but like it's definitely in that vein.
Yeah,
and I don't have much exposure to that genre-wise, but I've listened to a bit of Motorhead, so that's the point of comparison.
I like a few Motorhead songs, and like big dumb energy. Like the guitars are heavy hitting, the drums are just like two big cymbals crashing.
yeah. So it's big, it's aggressive. There's a new little like guitar riff too during the verse.
Yeah,
it's kind of like going on in the back. So like there's more stuff going on too.
Yeah.
Kind of like, you know?
Yeah, it's very, like, it would not be out of place in the Battletoads video games.
That's aggressive.
That's aggressive. Right? Yeah, oh, fuck yeah.
See, I mostly played the Game Boy one, so it didn't quite have the audio fidelity to...
right, to do that. No, you got to play, like, Battletoads and Battlemania for the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
Or Battletoads and Double Dragon, another classic.
Oh, yeah, we played that a bit.
Yeah, we fucking did. But those ones are all, like, this kind of, like, hard rock.
Okay.
And so I think I respond to that on, like, a nostalgia level, because I'm like, oh, fuck yeah.
Battletoads, eh? All right.
Battletoads.
Yeah, okay.
But I think, as well, like, the vocal performance of this man links up well to a guy who can confidently say, I have a heart full of soul, as an argument as to why you should get back with his girlfriend.
Yeah, okay, that checks out. It also kind of like sounds like a mistranslation of a Dutch phrase.
Sure, yeah.
You know? Like could easily be that. I did like this one. It really feels like you can like kind of headbang to this one.
Oh yeah.
Move your body. Again, aggressively. But no, I like the sound overall.
Yeah. They still get that good change up in tempo in the chorus. It's not a gallop, but it is like just kind of like double timed on the drums, and that's good enough. There's this like just before the guitar solo around 107, they hit like a spring that stops like a door stopper or something. You get that. You know that effect?
I'm waiting for it.
It hits at like 108.
Yeah, that's one of those jawbone things. What are they called?
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
They're like, it's like I can't remember the name of it now. It's like a ball on one end and like a block thing on the other, and they're connected by a metal rod that's very long, and you like hit them, and they go.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Vibra slap?
Maybe. Yeah.
Vibra slap? Yeah, it's a vibra slap, I think.
Vibra slap! Yeah, that makes sense to me.
I remember hearing that and I forgot to write it down, but I was going to.
I wrote it down. Don't worry about it, Alex.
Thanks for writing it down. What else? The other thing in this song,
Yes.
there's a second guitar solo.
Yes.
At about the 2:40 mark.
That's right.
And during that solo, they kind of like it falls apart. Not like it becomes bad, but like the song starts to feel like it's falling apart and like loses bits.
Right. Okay.
And then that's kind of like their end. Like they fade out on that. Like they just get a bunch of feedback and the guitar solo's going. We're losing
he starts
bits
shredding. He's losing bits.
That's what it felt like to me. Like the song is like losing parts as it goes, and then eventually it ends because there's nothing left.
Right. This song has like feelings of decay to it and like grittiness and nastiness. Like the vibe of a dude who fucked up and feels bad about it.
And is angry, like, probably mostly at himself.
Yeah, exactly.
He's angry.
And trying to be like, oh, maybe take me back. Maybe let her know to take me back. Like it hits really, really good.
Yeah.
No, I really like this version.
Totally solid version.
Okay, so now we're moving into 2018 finally.
Yes.
For the Rockats.
We're sick of heart and lonely. We're deep in dark despair. We're thinking one thought only. Where is she? Tell.
Yeah, who are also kind of a throwback, but to a throwback? Is that true?
Yes. Is that so? Are they're not Levi and the Rockats? Is that?
I am not clear on that.
Okay. Because I looked up Levi and the Rockats, who were founded in 1977, a British rockabilly revival band who opened for Kiss, Iggy Pop, The Clash, David Bowie, Tina Turner, Thin Lizzy, and the Pretenders.
Yeah, but these guys look so young.
Yeah, in this black and white photo, they sure do.
No, I mean on the album artwork.
Okay.
And the album Secret Hearts is not listed on this Wikipedia page.
Okay, but we do have right. Good way to check that, Alex. So are these guys like a revival of the revival band?
It's possible, because I'm also looking at the Facebook page and like there's no, the about is empty. They just say that they're a band. They have an AOL email address.
So are they even a revival, or did they just hit the same dumb name?
Unclear. But they also have some similarities, mostly in the hair. See, these guys look like they're a throwback to an 80s throwback of the 50s.
Right.
So I don't really know what's going on here.
Yeah. Well, this is tricky. I mean, like, ultimately, the end result is the same. This is rockabilly revival.
Yeah, you know what the other weird thing about Levi and the Rockats is that
What?
the years active say 1977 to present, like they still exist, but all their members are listed as past members. And their website is called racy.net.
Oh. That doesn't seem like a real website.
No, and they don't look like the guys on this album. So I feel like they just have the same name, but I can't find anything on the Rockats.
The Rockats. But it's like, so what do you think the name means? Is because they're like cool cats who rock?
And yet there's albums that they have, I mean, I feel like they're also squished together, because if you look at their discography,
Yeah.
it goes all the way back to 81. I don't really know what's going on here, man.
Live at the Ritz is their first one.
So maybe this is just a bunch of models they paid to be on the
maybe
album
they're
cover?
just pretending, or maybe this is like they did what Kiss wants to do, and they like held a talent show to make the new Rockats.
Pass all the rules on.
Yeah, to pass all the rules on, but nobody cared because it was just Levi and the Rockats.
Yeah.
Regardless,
So, I don't know, man.
we open with like some rolling keyboard on this, a little.
Yeah, it's a lot. You get some like synth going on. This one I would compare to Chris Isaak, but it's a little more of like a modern take on that 80s pop thing.
Yeah, I believe that.
So you still get a little of that like post-punky feel, but doesn't have that dark edge so much.
It's a little more popified.
Yeah. But they definitely, you already mentioned the synth, kind of like sprightly, like quick chords like that. There's a guitar arpeggio that comes in pretty quick. That struck me as very post-punk in that way.
Yeah.
and other sounds. What other
Yeah,
sounds?
there's
Super low
bass, just a boom, 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 boom. Yeah, just hitting the root note, basically 4 on the floor almost. Just fucking boom, 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 boom,
Yes.
boom.
If you go like 158, now I'm jumping ahead, but they're super low bass.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's kind of distorted too. It goes wow. So it's kind of cool. But I'm jumping way ahead.
You're jumping way ahead. We get guitar chords. We got a crunchy guitar doing the main Jeff Beck riff.
Mm-hmm.
Big dumb drum hits, I've said here. Oh yeah.
Big dumb drums. Yeah, so it has more of that like 80s feel. For sure.
Yeah.
Guitar. One thing I liked about the guitar solo is it's like basically slides the whole thing around.
Right, yeah.
Which is kind of a cool sound. And then they actually another cool sound they have. Second verse. Second verse is kind of cool. Well, the second verse because they repeat the second verse.
Right.
They like have the detuned guitar going on. So there's some cool sounds in this one.
Yeah.
And it's more of I'm trying to find a good point of comparison other than like 80s rock. But this one feels very 80s, but in a different way from Chris Isaak. Like they both have an 80s signature, but different type of 80s.
Yeah. This is closer to like a Don't You Want Me Baby or something like that of that era.
Yeah. Which I struggle to find like a better name for, but I agree.
Yeah.
So interesting throwback. And I mean, reasonably successful. It definitely made me think of that era. So
yeah, and like good parts of that era.
Yeah. Yeah,
but there you go. Another 80s banger in the year 2018. But we got to move on to 2020 to talk about Paul Mark and the Van Dorens.
Paul Mark and the Van Dorens.
Sick at heart and lonely, deep in dark despair.
Both
of them. Both of them are present. This version is by a New Yorker. Who's a songwriter, musician, producer. Who describes himself as having a Roadhouse rough vocal delivery. They call it Urban Blues, Root Rocks Ensemble. So maybe just Root Rock. And he's got a revolving band. So the Van Dorens, not a family band, just some fucking dudes.
Some guys
around.
Run by a guy called Van Doren. I made that up. It's probably not true.
You made that up. It's run by a guy named Paul Mark. Come on.
Paul Mark, that's true. He's the band leader here.
Yeah.
He's been performing for a while. Yeah, this is a more bluesy version.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely bluesy. You know, you get the echoey and like a bit darkness on that intro. And then it moves into some like guitars. But yeah, it is a much more, I'm gonna say bluesy again.
Say it
bluesy
again.
feeling.
Yeah, almost an urban bluesy feeling.
Urban bluesy. Yeah.
Like you can hear this in the city.
In the city.
New York!
New York. One of the things I noticed about the vocal delivery feels a little more like conversational.
Yeah.
It kind of goes for the sad side.
Mm-hmm.
In the delivery.
Yeah, he's trying to be a little gritty, but we've come off of Peter Pan Speedrock. And it doesn't get grittier than that.
No, it's definitely quite different from that.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it does kind of its own, some of its own things that are neat.
Yeah.
The riff, the way they play the riff out, kind of they pick it.
Yeah, picked on a guitar.
And that lets some parts ring out quite nicely, which the original is so fuzzy, like you don't really get that, whereas this really lets you sit in some of those longer notes in there. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I kind of like
dude who like
the really breathy ahs.
Yeah.
But it's not like an ah, it's like a just a sigh. Yeah, like you said.
He's sad because his lady's
I forgot
gone.
the word for sigh when I was taking this note. Apparently.
Yeah.
And there's an organ. So it's blues,
Organ,
right?
yeah.
Blues plus
It's
organ.
the blues, baby.
Very harmonic. And then later on, you get some stuff like it makes like a charge up sound, and then that leads into the verse.
That's right, yeah. The
kinda
guitar
cool.
solo on this is a combo between westerns and James Bond.
You got to get a little theatrical, which is
Gotta
to
get a
say
little theatrical
cinematic.
on this. Cinematic.
Yeah. So the guitar solo, it kind of sounds similar to the original, but like they've slowed it down and like detuned it. Does that check out? Does that sound right to you?
Let me see. I'm not sure about that.
But no, but yeah, it feels like
It
you
certainly
said.
starts out there.
Yeah, that's
and
what
then-
it feels like at first,
Yeah.
but it does have this feeling, like you said, cowboy Bond.
Cowboy Bond, because then that's like that doom 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 doom. If you go bow,
It even
bow,
does that,
dow,
yeah.
then you're in James Bond territory.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
so it approaches
very
that.
similar.
So another kind of cool version. There's a lot of ones that are like, oh, it's got some cool stuff in it. Made some cool
Yeah.
sounds. And I mean, that's kind of what the original was about, right? Like,
cool sounds, yeah.
we made these cool sounds. We wanted to make different sounds that we thought were cool, but we found these other ones,
We
and
found
we think
these
you'll
other
like
ones,
them. And
we
people
think you'll
did.
like them, and they did. You're right.
And a lot of the
Alex.
covers just follow that.
Yeah, my question to you is: if they had played if the Yardbirds had played this version, Paul Mark and the Van Dorens version, do you think Eric Clapton would have come back?
It's a decent chance he never would have left.
He never would have left. He said the blues.
He's
Thank
had to
God.
join John Mayall and the Blues Breakers.
Yeah, and then
But he wouldn't have
quit
had
after
to
a
if they had
year.
just stuck with their blues rock.
Jeez.
It's a
These
funny
guys.
conversation that was apparently happening around the time, because that's also kind of the Jethro Tull story. Like, they started as a blues rock trio,
Right.
and then, like, one of the more prominent members left early on because they didn't want to just do blues rock anymore. And then they became, like, very different from that. 'cause
Yeah.
They became Jethro Tull.
They became Jethro Tull. They're like, what if we have a bunch of flute in our songs?
Yeah, that was when they started doing the flute stuff, so.
Right.
Or no, was there flute? I think there's flute on the first album. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, Alex, it's time to break this down to our final categories. Give us our final verdicts.
Yeah.
We got 3 categories today. We got the worst version, the best version, and the version that would never make you sad. Who's got the best personal care? Who's going to make you
Personal
feel
care.
all right?
Yeah.
Alex, what's
Okay.
the worst version of this?
What's the worst version? The worst version of this song probably goes to. Well, I mean, going through all of them, most of them I kind of liked a bit, at least. But I do think it probably goes to Johnny Mann singers because I like the other ones more.
Yeah, I'd say that checks out. It's either got to be Johnny Mann or Els Drax, and I don't think Els Drax deserves to be taken down like that.
I still kind of liked their sounds,
Yeah, it's pretty decent. But yeah, the Johnny Mann singers is just like oldie moldy to me.
I didn't
man.
even really
It's so
dislike
good.
it.
I know, because
Just
you're
didn't
softy.
have as much interesting stuff going on.
No, I
as
was
the
not
other
fond
ones.
of it. So yeah, definitely my worst. Easy choice. Alex, best version.
Best version. I think my best version. I'm taking Rush. I can't have Rush on the possibilities list. It's just too much for my
Right.
brain to handle.
Right.
But I think my best version is probably Chris Isaak. I really liked his take on it, and I liked his like weird, dark, sad cowboy thing with there's some slide guitar in there. There's a lot of echo and a little bit of that 80s sound. There's some cool stuff. I liked it.
Yeah, I think a lot of great sounds on that one. I think in terms of who had a good sound and a good direction for the song as like a piece, it's got to be Peter Pan Speedrock.
There you go. Do you know why it's explicit? Do they swear in this one, or is it just the whole album?
It's just because it's Dutch.
Yeah.
No, I'm not
Like,
sure. I don't.
We
I
have
don't-
no idea what they're saying. We better just censor it.
They're like, better just censor it. They hear that voice and they're like, I don't think kids should listen to that. Yeah, no, that's the best version in my books. Alex, who's not going to make you sad? You've entered into a loving relationship with one of these people. Who's not going to have to sing this song because they've got a heart full of soul and will never make you sad?
The artists themselves?
Yes, the artists themselves.
The entire group of the Johnny Mann singers, I would say.
Yeah, they're gonna hold you up, lift you up.
We're gonna start a cult.
Okay, yeah, sick. That's good.
And I'll lead it, so I won't be sad.
Right. Okay, good. That's
Yeah.
even better. Yeah, they'll be called the Alex Mild singers.
Yeah, I mean Johnny Mann died years ago.
Yeah,
So
you can take over.
They're just the singers now.
That's fair.
They'll need a new leader.
I would pick Rush, but Neil Peart died, and that makes me a bit sad.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with let's see here. I'm gonna go with you know what, Paul Mark and the Van Dorens. That's a big group, a lot of people they're rotating, right? So like, there's always gonna be somebody to love me and care for me.
Yeah.
And hey, they know some fun little musical tricks, keep me entertained.
Probably
Maybe I can even become one of the Van Dorens.
Maybe you can even become Paul Mark.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, get in there.
Because, like Kiss. You'll take the Paul Mark role in the band.
I'll kiss my way in.
Yeah, that should do it.
That should do the trick.
That should do it.
That does it for our final verdicts. If you've got a similar opinion, different opinion, want to talk to us about a version we didn't talk about, hit us up on Twitter, #CoverMePod, @JakeTheCressy, @SomeAlexWise Guy.
That's me.
That's you, @SomeAlexWise. Sorry, there was like a strange noise. There's I want to say a dumpster fire, but more of a dump truck fire outside my building.
Ah.
So I think they're still dealing with some of the aftermath of that. It's pretty wild. But yeah, hit us up on Twitter, #CoverMePod, @JakeTheCressy, @SomeAlexWiseGuy. Send us comments, questions, concerns, suggestions for future episodes. You can also email those to us at covermepod@gmail.com. Talk to us there. Be sure to rate and review us. We're on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever podcasts are sold. You can find us there. And get the word out. Tell your friends, neighbors, enemies, anyone you meet. Tell them about us and say, hey, go give it a listen. And then tell them to go rate and review us and to tell their friends. And then eventually everybody's going to know about the podcast. It's a social experiment. Will that convince you guys to do it? Let's do it. It's for science. And that does it for today's episode of Cover Me. And as we always say on Cover Me, and if she says to you she don't love me, just give her my message. Tell her of Cover Me.